and welcome back to the most electrifying episode of Coffee and Wrestling, a wrestling podcast. I am one half of your host, Jamie.
And I'm your other half, Mark, making terrible faces because we just got done watching something and it just made me giggle because she used the word electrifying.
Yes.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, friends.
We don't normally say this, but I think this is episode 64.
Wow.
And if it is, hold on, let me look at the top of the screen here.
Congratulations
It
to
is
us.
64. Nintendo 64 episodes. So it is officially, we have more bits than a Nintendo in the 1990s.
Congrats.
Welcome to the podcast. We are talking AEW and WWE, much like we always do with this Coffee and Wrestling podcast. We're going to start out with probably the most buzzworthy news since I don't even know when. The Rock has made his return to his home show, not hometown, but in Colorado. And SmackDown came out to confront Austin Theory, who was talking a lot of trash to...
The Rock has come back.
Oh, so good.
To Denver.
But Austin Theory was out there. He was talking trash to... I can't remember his name all of a sudden. I was really hoping that pause was going to...
Pat McAfee?
Pat McAfee. Thank you. We're podcasters.
Which alone is a great thing to have back. I thought, honestly, after the last interview that came out about Pat McAfee, that we weren't going to be seeing anything of him. So for him to show up...
Well, he's been very busy with ESPN.
Fantastic.
I grew to absolutely love his announcing on SmackDown.
It's so
I was sad to see him go, but, again, definitely nice to see him go on to greener pastures. I'm sure his paycheck has gotten a lot bigger since then.
Yeah, right.
But, yeah, we didn't think we were going to see him back. He was back... more than likely because he ended up having The Rock on his podcast earlier this previous week. And I think that's where like the biggest news is really going to come out of. The Rock on his podcast claimed that WrestleMania 39, that they had him versus Roman. It was locked in.
Right.
Like it was done. Like it was everything but
there were a lot of rumors about
on the contract. Of course, yeah. But apparently... the way that Rock has put it, the reason why they didn't go through with it was they looked at the landscape of WWE programming, they looked at the storylines, and they looked at what he said was give the fans in respect to storyline and as a product, and realized that utilizing The Rock versus Roman, although it was everything but a signed piece of paperwork, that it wasn't going to do as good as a product to deliver to the viewer. So they decided they're going to go an alternate route and revisit possibly later on in the future. Not ruling out, not saying WrestleMania 40. However, then Friday following that podcast coming out, The Rock makes his triumphant return to SmackDown in Colorado.
Right.
And just decimates the former United States champion Austin Theory in front of probably, 20,000 people?
Yeah, something like that. So interesting. You can't say that the timing wasn't perfect there.
No, but if you've ever watched NCIS for more than 5 minutes, Gibbs even says there's no such thing as a coincidence. You know what reference. I mean?
Yes.
Rock just happened to be in the same place.
With Pat McAfee.
In the same place that WWE was doing SmackDown on a Friday, and he just showed up.
How coincidental.
I mean, honest to God, though, if The Rock showed up at your place of business, like, wouldn't you just all right, come on in? Yeah, it's the fucking Rock.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You can give me the people's elbow. That's fine.
That sounds so bad.
Right?
But what do you think? Do you think that's where they're heading towards? I mean, we've got...
It would be smart. I mean, not to be that guy. People are getting, obviously, sidetracked bloodline-wise with Roman in general. He hasn't been there. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't had a good rivalry in obviously
hasn't
a while.
Been on TV for a couple of weeks, if I can remember right.
So to have something like that where it's literal, like, you want to talk about bloodline, like this is the epitome of bloodline here. Where
it's all in the family. Like it's
legit
literally
family,
the same bloodline.
And you're bringing in, again, the most electrifying... wrestler in all of sports entertainment.
I mean, we were talking about that before we watched, because we just watched the whole segment between The Rock and Austin Theory just to make sure we were completely up to speed with it. And he's an entirely different. The Rock is like an entirely different individual in the wrestling landscape. Like he's honestly probably one of the most prolific wrestlers since Ric Flair, since, I mean, right along with Stone Cold and Mick Foley, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Triple
absolutely.
H, individuals that have an influence even outside of professional wrestling.
Right.
You know, even Stone Cold doesn't have that. You know, Stone Cold's kind of to himself. He's on the Broken Skull Ranch. He's got his beer. He's got his occasional TV show, but you don't see him.
But The Rock was in Moana. Yeah. You know, like, let's be that guy.
The Rock's a lot more in the public eye. He's a lot more of a public figure. He's appealed to so much.
He's had his own TV show. He's had, obviously, the wrestling. He's had, again, the kids' movies. He had that one movie where he was like the Tooth Fairy or something, right?
I can't, yeah, oh my God. But, you know, it's a much bigger... It's the next step that Roman Reigns would need to accomplish to become the next level of what he is. And that he's teased that, you know, going to Hollywood, going outside the walls of professional wrestling.
And he could do that, absolutely.
He's got the chops for it. He's got the look for it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's got the following. And not to be that guy, but you get women fawning all over a hot dude, and wherever he goes, especially in movies where you can have him shirtless with his, you know, his pants down low. Like,
I'm buying a ticket.
I'm buying a goddamn ticket.
Yeah,
like, are you kidding me? You know, so that's like the next level we have for Roman. So I can understand The Rock coming in and having a match at WrestleMania 40, but now that brings up the question: you have still in the lurches of Raw and SmackDown. SmackDown is like, hey, we're down a guy. You had Jay go to Raw. Where's our guy?
They still haven't done that.
They haven't moved anybody over. Rumor is it's going to be Cody. Move Cody to SmackDown. Now that kind of puts a wrench in the workings of Cody finishing the story. Now, granted, I don't think it really matters who it comes from if he gets that belt to quote unquote finish the story, but it's kind of made it more of. He's made it more of like, I have to beat Roman. Like, I have to be the one to dethrone it. Or have we kind of gotten away from that a little bit? Like, they don't really talk
about it much, but I feel like it's just like that underlying, like, you should know this about Cody Rhodes, especially if he was to move over to SmackDown. I think that's the first thing everybody thinks is, oh, okay, he's going to finish the story, as he's always implied. And I don't know what you do there. Like, do you do like a Chad Gable situation with Gunther where you're like, you know, this moment's going to happen, but you put in somebody temporarily that you know is going to lose? Like, you really going to have Cody Rhodes lose again to Roman Reigns before he faces The Rock? Like, that's not a good move. It would be better for Roman to face The Rock, win against The Rock, and then Cody win it from Roman.
But then what do you do? Wait for a whole nother calendar year and have him win it at WrestleMania?
You're going
to dethrone him at the Royal Rumble pay-per-view? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I hear ya.
I feel like it's got to happen at Mania. Like, it's got the biggest stage, the most prolific champion, even beyond. He's gone above and beyond The Rock's reign ever as a world champion.
Right.
He's over 1,000 days. You're really going to tell me you're not going to have him go to Mania and drop the belt? And if that's the case,
can we just call it now that Cody Rhodes wins the next Royal Rumble and then cashes in afterwards?
At what, WrestleMania?
Yeah.
Like, after the match? I don't think. No, it's not like it's a Money in the Bank. Like, hey, I won the Royal Rumble. He just had a match. I want to cash it in now.
Yeah, he's got the Money in the Bank. He's going to come in there and he's going to.
Oh, so you said Royal Rumble?
Oh, my bad. My apologies.
Okay, yeah,
he's going to come in with the briefcase.
He's going to have to get it for. I mean, Senor Money in the Bank's going to have to cash it in first.
He has to. You have to cash it in before the next Money in the Bank.
Right. Which I don't know. But even then, that's a long time.
Hey, WWE is not afraid to be like, hey, this is 3 years in the making.
What a cheap ass way to finish the story. Like, you're going to fucking, at his worst moment, walk in and be like, hey, my belt now.
No, that's his best moment. Roman beat The Rock.
Yeah, but then
you have Cody cash in.
Like
then everybody wins.
But then everybody's like, yeah, but Cody couldn't do it because he had to wait for him to fight the toughest opponent he's ever fought in his entire life and then waltz in like some Dom Mysterio motherfucker and cash in. And then they go, yep, guess what? I'm the champion. Respect me.
Do you have the story.
AEW fans, like those AEW diehard idiot fans that think that WWE is a plague and it shouldn't be a part of the world anymore? Like, those people would have a field day. They would tear Cody Rhodes apart. Like, Brandy Rhodes would delete Cody Rhodes' Twitter because it would be so fucking bad.
How do you see this going down?
I don't know. That's what I mean. Like, I'm very confused. Like, I thought they abandoned The Rock and Roman last year for whatever reason because they couldn't make it happen. And I thought that they were going to do a slow build to Cody being able to finish the story. Like, we all thought the last time they wrestled and he lost that it was a terrible idea that he lost. Like, a lot of people thought that was like, you could have soared him to more heights. And I feel like that maybe we all jumped the gun a little bit on that one.
I absolutely agree with you there.
And I feel like what they've done with him now has gotten what they needed to do with him. And they have poised him to a position to where, he's not super concerned about finishing the story right now, which I feel like is exactly where Cody Rhodes needed to be in order to get the respect of this story, because it's always been a focus of, I got to finish the story, and everybody had all these expectations.
What do you want to talk about?
Now he's kind of dialed that story book back a little bit, and at any point in time, though, he could pull that little tidbit out and start that fire again, to where it's like, oh well, wait a minute, what if we're coming up on Mania, we're coming up on Cody Rhodes' next chance. He's moved over to SmackDown. He's on the same brand. Roman Reigns is back on TV. He's kind of poking at the bear again. It would be a great way to build it up and give him the belt. But then, like I said, with The Rock, I can't see them teasing The Rock or having The Rock come back in and not have him facing Roman.
I know, that'd be so silly. It'd be such a missed opportunity.
It really would be.
Because now think about it. Here we have been talking about it for how long, that The Rock could be facing Roman. For something like that to be announced, that's 100% one of those moments where people that don't even care about the program are going to be like, what?
Oh, yeah.
Rock versus Roman?
Oh, yeah.
People that don't even watch WWE.
People who haven't watched WWE in years will be like, wait, The Rock is coming back? Like, yeah, I'll definitely tune in Mania on that
That's
one.
an easy one that they're going to make a lot of money off that. I don't know. What pay-per-view did they say that they were going to... premium live event. Did they say that they were going to do in London next year?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Maybe that's what they're trying to do. Build up something.
I know there were
really,
rumors
really
they were
trying
to bring Mania to London.
Okay. Because remember, John Cena came out and announced it right after they were starting to get a lot of steam behind Wembley with AEW.
Right, yeah.
All in.
Well, I mean, WWE's been taking pot shots as much as they can. Now, at their credit, the turnstile numbers have come through that the full attendance of paid participants
I've also read that.
were like just under 81,000 or just under 80,000, something like that. But the paid tickets sold was 8135.
Okay.
I mean, I think we're splitting hairs here.
I heard something about, like, how when they do like the clicks, like when you come into the arena and they like put the numbers with like how many people actually came in, and it was like significantly less or something. Like who's counting ticks at the door?
I think if anybody doesn't believe that both AEW and WWE are not fully forthright about the numbers that come into their doors, I mean, come on, you're trying to sell a product. Have you never seen
Tony Khan and Vince McMahon before?
I mean, have you never, like, and of course you see all the pictures of AEW where they've got all the seats, they filled up the TV side so it looks full to the brims, and the other side's like empty. You think WWE's never had shows like that? You think when,
of course,
when they were making their rounds in the first couple of years of being on TV and being like a product that was really trying to make its name, like they didn't have half empty arenas? You think they've been like selling 20,000, stadium seating fucking Monday Night Raws since day one? There's no way.
No.
There's no way. Like it's ridiculous to it's ridiculous to think that AEW is just hitting every nail on the head and every mark and having like full arenas and having people just puking money for the company.
Of course.
But it's the same idea of thinking that WWE's product isn't as glorified and pretty as they make it out to be.
Of course.
You know what I mean? Like if you
it's all about inflating numbers and making it sound good,
yeah.
Hey, Michael Cole, say this.
It's the peacock effect, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like you're trying to strut your stuff. I'm trying to get a mate. I'm trying to get make money. I'm trying to be like, hey, look at me over here.
Right.
Like I'm big and sexy and you
want to
be with me.
82,000.
You know what I mean?
But they had like the other day, I can't remember what we were watching. I think it was Raw. They had Xavier Woods say,
yeah, that's what I was getting at. They're taking pot shots. Yeah.
Yeah. Like what was that?
He said that Drew McIntyre, because Drew McIntyre and Xavier Woods had a match this week because Drew McIntyre and Kofi Kingston the week prior had some issues.
Right.
Xavier kind of confronted about him because they've had a good history between the two of them. And he said, oh, I get it. You're talking to Drew, said you're just jealous of Kofi because he won his WrestleMania match in front of 82,000 screaming fans.
Yeah, right.
And it was just like, damn, like we're really at like childhood, like I don't know. It's so silly because it's not like It's just so dumb. It's so dumb. Both companies do it. I'm not saying one's better than the other and one doesn't do it.
For sure.
Both companies do it. If AEW wasn't concerned about WWE taking pot shots like that, then they wouldn't have sat there and pressed 81-35.
Oh yeah, down to the ones.
There's no, they
would have said 80 plus and just been done with it.
They would have put 80,000 plus fans.
Yeah, they had to make sure they were over the number that WWE had hit.
Of course, because that's
all
this is about. Is just who can be. It's like a match. Who can be the best in a ring? Who can hit the best promo? Who can say the most mean thing without saying something that's going to upset the censors? Who's going to say the catchiest thing in the ring? Who's
Dalton Castle?
Yeah, right.
All the answer to all those questions was Dalton Castle.
But it's again, it's the Dalton Castle. It's the peacock effect. You want to be
perfect.
You want to be the most flashy, the biggest, the most boisterous,
the biggest feathers. Yeah, the most boisterous.
It's just funny to see people like complaining about this shit because of course all of it's fake. All these numbers are fucking fake. What do you think they're gonna? Well, it was only 79,000.
But does it really matter?
81,035.
Does it really matter though?
Yeah.
I bet Tony Khan slept great that night.
It matters if I have 2 extra people than that other company had. Damn it.
Says who?
It's so dumb.
The internet.
The internet. So rumor mill started going this week.
That's always fun.
Immediately following Wednesday Night Dynamite, that Jade Cargill of TBS Championship fame, one of the longest streaks in AEW, 63.
I thought it was the longest streak.
I believe it is. With 63 wins, not singles, but just wins in general. The longest reigning TBS champion, first ever TBS champion, a star that nobody I really think would be able to get to this level this quick.
Sure.
That she might be going to WWE.
Yeah.
She is. That it is. When it was Thursday morning, it was like 5:00 in the morning. I was on the news websites because I was supposed to be working, and I don't. It's 5 in the morning on a fucking Monday or Thursday. It was pretty much Dave Meltzer had said that everything other than the branding or whatever you want to call it, like she has gone to WWE. She has wrestled her last match because they ended up recording Rampage that night.
Right.
She ended up losing to Chris Statlander in a rematch for the TBS Championship.
They had a big hug afterwards.
They had a very, very emotionally driven hug at the end of the match. And that he basically said that she's WWE bound. Like you could see her imminently on WWE. I find this very interesting because Jade Cargill's been, even up to the day that this news has broken, she was very active in talking to AEW stars and AEW fans,
promoting things, retweeting a lot. Yeah.
Now she had just come off a hiatus. She owns a softball team, and congratulations to them. They just won whatever championship they were going for in their first year. But there was, she was off TV for a while.
Texas Smoke,
which is a great name.
Right.
She lost the championship and then was able to focus on that for the past couple of months.
Right.
And came back unannounced on Wednesday.
That was huge.
To attack Chris Statlander, challenged her for the belt, and then ended up losing on Friday. And then all this news comes out.
Super interesting. I mean, once you see the ending of it, it kind of feels like, oh, okay, I've seen this before. This is like a wrestler's way of kind of like saying their goodbyes.
Well, Eddie Kingston talks about it with Claudio doing business before he left. I believe it was Chikara Pro to go to WWE. He never did business with Eddie Kingston, never put him over. He never gave him the win, never took the loss as you're walking out of the company.
Exactly.
It's kind of a respectful thing you do as a wrestler. When you have a storyline, you put over the other individual because you're not going to be a part of that promotion anymore.
Right.
So that's what you do is you show up and that's exactly what she did. Is she, lost to Chris Statlander, gave her a solidifying win over her, and now she can go on to a different company. And Chris Statlander is the better woman of the two.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? It's kind of like a sending off moment.
Right. I mean, it's totally possible. Nobody knows anything about when her contract actually ends. That's all rumored. I've heard some things about November.
I've heard November, but I think the only thing that's known is that she was signed to a 2-year deal.
Okay.
But I don't believe anybody knows the specifics of when that starts and when that ends.
Right.
But yeah, November I've heard is the end of her contract. But even then,
if that was the case, I mean, she couldn't really actually be talking to WWE about negotiations.
That's kind of what I was
going to
bring up. Is that a possibility? I mean, is that
you can't do that?
it's but And again, you got to take a lot of this stuff with a grain of salt because it's Dave Meltzer. Like, it's not like it's a tried and true, and he says his sources. It doesn't reference so and so in the company or this person in the company or even what level of person that he gets the news from. Right. You know what I mean? So it could be all bullshit. It could be completely gobbledygook. Like you never know. But it's just a very interesting thing because I think she could do really well in WWE.
Oh yeah, for sure, and definitely the thing I keep saying over and over on Twitter, talking about talking about Jade Cargill going to WWE is that she would be a great rival for Bianca Belair.
Oh yeah, definitely the other side of the coin of Bianca Belair, and would be able to keep Bianca on that face run that she does so well with.
Exactly, they are two strong athletes. Like, they started off being athletes, not wrestlers, so it'd
Bianca
be a cool
being a power lifter,
dynamic.
And then Jade, I believe she was in softball, or am I bodybuilding.
Yeah, she was too. So cool dynamic to have something like that between the two of them. I think that'd be great. Jade's gotten so great. I mean, she had all that time that she was so thankful to be able to have. If she walks away now with Bryan Danielson to help train her, which elevated her wrestling game,
right?
100-fold. Really changed her dynamic. Her confidence from last year is unmeasured compared to how she is now, because she knows that she's going to confidently hit that move. Before, she really wasn't as sure about herself.
Right. Well, she was even interesting you say that, because she was even quoted on a podcast the other day about, or maybe it was a few years ago, I can't remember. I read so much stuff that I don't remember. But she was quoted on a podcast, and basically she said, before I got into wrestling, I already knew who I was. I was already successful. I didn't need, the spotlight didn't scare me. So standing in front of 10,000 people and saying something on a microphone didn't bother me. So coming into the wrestling business, other than learning the craft, learning how to wrestle and how to perform and how to put on a good story, like, I didn't care about anything else. I cared about our fans, because she even admitted that that's how you, as a wrestler, you become more successful, is by the fans liking you. So she even said, I give everything I can for the fans, but in all reality, the only people I care about their opinion are the people that are training me and the people that are paying me.
Right.
Because I don't need to worry about whether people in the locker room like me. Mm-hmm. I need to worry about delivering outside of where the customer wants. You know what I mean? So she was able to look at wrestling as, okay, I'm not good at this yet. I'm very green. Let me focus this as like it's a business thing, and let me get really, really good at this aspect so I can be as best as I can. And if I irritate anybody, it's because I'm doing it better than they are.
Oh, sure. And she's been elevated. Like, oh my God, she is there. Absolutely.
And again, that attitude would be amazing in the WWE.
Sure.
I just find it surprising that, given the platform she was, and it might be a monetary thing, but even that, rumors have come out that it had nothing to do with money.
Right.
She just might be looking for something more creative. And again, it might all be
different
bullshit.
Outlets. It could all be complete bullshit. The internet community really is 50-50.
Oh yeah, and all these quote unquote sources you hear are always here or there, or it might be this guy, it might be the janitor, it might be a top level executive.
Exactly.
It might be some guy on the internet, that's claiming he's somebody else. You never know. So it's really hard to really take anything in, but it's just one of those rumors that are going around, because I know WWE's also have been rumored to have an interest in Ricky Starks.
I mean, I can't blame them for having an interest in either. They are two of the best developed wrestlers in the last year. Again, Ricky Starks on the mic is incredible. Heel Ricky Starks. It took him a couple months, but he's developed really well into it.
Right.
He works well with everybody he's ever worked with, against or in a group with. I can totally see why WWE would want either of them.
And if Jade Cargill,
they're young,
and either one of them, honestly, if either one of them went to WWE, that would be the first homegrown AEW star that heads over to the other side.
Right.
You had Cody Rhodes. You can call him a homegrown, whatever you want. He had his toes in WWE before he even started in the wrestling world.
Right.
So I feel like he was going to go back there no matter what. Mm-hmm. I feel like in the long run, his family legacy is there, for fuck's sakes. But it would just be interesting to see either one of those people go over to WWE. And I really think WWE could utilize Jade Cargill in their women's division. And saying that, I can't understand how, if she decided to go to WWE, how Tony Khan didn't, if he didn't do everything to keep her, he's a fool.
Absolutely, because she has so much left that she can do in AEW. Like, she honestly has just scratched the surface of what she can do.
Oh, yeah.
She had this legendary
Especially with
reign.
that belt reign, yeah.
Yeah, and now you've got 2 losses, and this is what I've said from the beginning ever since she's been gone. How do you come back from that? You're going to walk away from it? Like, that seems silly. You had one reign as a champion, and that's it? You know, like, I feel like there's so much more that they could do with her. They had factions. Yeah, they had Mark Sterling, but they could do so many different things with her character.
Right.
And she can develop so much more as a wrestler to hone in on what her particular wrestling style is. Because, again, training with Bryan Danielson, you might become more of a technical wrestler. And she may realize that's better for her style. There's so much that she could do with AEW. You know, a part of me hopes that she stays with it so we can see her develop more and more. But of course, you know, I want nothing but the best for her.
But seeing her on a stage that the size of WWE would be phenomenal.
It would, but it scares me. You know, I get worried. I'm like, I hope you don't fall into the void of just getting lost.
We're getting dumped back to NXT and winning the belt.
Yeah, like look at Mustafa Ali. You're going to tell me he deserves what he's got going on for him? Like, that's the best they could do with him is stick him in NXT in this rivalry with a guy who's in WWE,
They did that with their top women's champion.
I don't like it. I'm not enjoying that at all.
I mean,
but I don't want that to happen to somebody like Jade.
Let's touch on that real quick. I mean,
sure.
I can't, and this will be real quick because I don't follow anything with NXT, so I'm not an authority on it, and I probably shouldn't even be speaking about it, but I cannot for the life of me understand why they took WWE's one of their most successful women's champion and dropped her to NXT to win over Tiffany Stratton for the NXT women's belt.
Who I thought was doing a great job, who looked like she was going to be going up to the main roster sooner than later, and then have her lose to Becky. Now, what's Becky going to do? Go to NXT and defend that belt?
But who's going to take that title from her?
I don't know.
What NXT star is going to beat a WWE main roster, like top of the pile women's?
I absolutely don't know, but if you look at it, the NXT Women's Championship and the NXT Women's Tag Team Championships are gone out of NXT right now.
Yep.
So what are you doing for the women? Like that seems odd to me.
I mean,
I can see the idea of having, to me, missed opportunity because we didn't watch the match. You had texted me in the morning. Again, you get up really early. You texted me and you said, I can't believe Becky Lynch won this. Mm-hmm. And I sat there and thought about it for a minute and I was like, what a missed opportunity. Like you could have had Becky Lynch come in, lose to Tiffany Stratton.
Yep.
Never talk about it on Raw or SmackDown or, main roster promotion at all.
Yep.
Michael Cole never references it. But in NXT, you make a big deal about it.
Oh, yeah. Tiffany Stratton has a win over one of the best women wrestlers in WWE right now.
Right. Missed opportunity in my eyes. So as of now, it is Sunday. We just finished up AEW Collision last night.
Sunday.
I know. The Twitter community, again, was really weird and wasn't looking forward to any of the matches on Collision, although it ended up being beginning to end extremely entertaining, and I loved it.
Yeah, I saw the tail end of it. I wasn't on social media much that day, but when we got ready for Collision, I started looking, and a lot of people were just not about some of these matchups.
Don't understand why they ended up all being. Really good.
I think it's a lot of it is just people are unsure if these matchups are going to be good, but at the same time, isn't this what everybody's complaining about? We always have the same matches. We always have no storyline.
Take a chance.
Yeah,
look at the card and be like, okay, Andrade El Idolo always performs. Scorpio Sky always performs. How is that going to be a bad match?
Not performance. What an underwhelming performance from the audience when Scorpio Sky came out.
I felt like, did they not know who he was? Also, I don't think they recognized the Workhorseman either.
Well, yeah, they definitely didn't. They were chanting, "Who are you?" But Scorpio, I think he's just been off TV for well over a year. I think he's just lost a lot of steam that he had prior.
He'll build it back up.
Yeah, he's an amazing performer.
He really is. He's got the microphone skills. Obviously the performance skills. You know, he's been able to work with people like Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels. Like he'll be able to work himself back up. Ethan Page, he worked really well with. I've loved the tag team.
Where is Ethan Page? I want him back.
Hopefully doing his thing. Obviously still doing his YouTube thing.
Buying toys.
The thing I really wanted to touch on was what happened to production.
Yeah, it was bad.
It was sketchy.
They and of course AEW has become known for having one or two snafus throughout their episode throughout the week.
Let's be real. It's usually sound.
Between 6 hours of Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision, which is actually only 5 hours. I can't even do basic math. You eventually have like a snafu, maybe two, maybe the audio is a little off. It doesn't get fed into the audience, but it gets fed into the TV.
Right.
Or vice versa. This whole episode was nonstop. Like, they had the production crew, setting the time for the sound before the promo even started. They had sound was not in the right spots. They had microphone problems. It was just, they had video problems. They had theme music going on when they were promoting Grand Slam. It was a shit show.
They were promoting Wrestle Dream, and then they had somebody's music playing in the background. That whole interview with Keith Lee and Lexi Nair, at the beginning of it, they said, take 22. Take 22?
Yeah, it was a good solid...
That was like a 15, 20-second promo they did for 22 takes.
And there was a good solid 3 seconds of just not supposed to be on air
How
footage.
did they miss that?
And it was just like, damn, like...
This is supposed to be live, and you just...
this is
made
supposed
that,
to be not just that, but this is supposed to be
error.
a professional, well, you got to think of it. If that was take 22, that means it was recorded earlier in the day.
Right.
That means
probably last week.
That means somebody took that clip and never cropped out the first couple of seconds after they hit record. How do you not do that?
I know. As somebody who's edited things before...
I do it on this
How
podcast
do you
every
not
time. There's a chunk of audio.
Go back and listen to it.
There's a chunk of audio that nobody will hear. Well, you might hear it at the end, but there's a chunk of audio in the intro that has while the music is playing of you and I just going back and forth, checking levels, making sure we're ready to go. That is my job as the producer of this podcast to go through and cut up all of those chunks and get rid of them. How is a multi-million-dollar, $2 billion value company? How do you not have that big? Hire me. Fuck around and hire me for $200,000. I'll do whatever you need to for your videos. I will sit at my house and set up remote computers. You won't even have to worry about it. Like, for real. Like,
it was a very
performance.
Yeah, and it again wasn't the only error. It just kept happening and happening. And this is the 10th, 11th episode of Collision.
Oh, terrible! How many times have they had microphone problems? This microphone's not on. This one stops working. This one,
time.
They
I always get worried when Mox is about
to
say something because it happens to him constantly where his mic's off.
Oh yeah, and it happens in
Silly
WWE.
Errors.
It happened when Hogan, I think earlier this year, I think it was Mania or the Rumble. He came out and was trying to say something, the microphone kept cutting out. Of course, it happens. Technical issues happen, but this was far too many. And for AEW to be already getting enough criticism as is, being a smaller, newer company that is trying to make their name in the wrestling world.
Yeah, this didn't help.
This didn't help at all.
Well, we talked a little bit about Chris Statlander earlier, but one thing that AEW absolutely did a great job with this week was having not only Chris Statlander facing Jade Cargill, again, legendary reign with the TBS Championship, but she also faced Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, as the main event of AEW Collision.
The first ever women's main event.
I really have to say AEW is doing a fantastic job of trying to have them main event, trying to put an important moniker on the women's division and the championships with it.
They're doing a better job, but I still think they have a lot to go because they have not had a lot of women's time on TV.
Right.
The four-way match that happened for the number one contender with Toni Storm winning was over 3 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not been the greatest. They've been trying the attempt is there. The attempt
you got to give them the attempt. They are
but
trying.
I think they need to try a little bit harder personally. But this match was definitely in their favor in that degree. It felt important going into it because you have probably the most successful former women's champion in AEW right now, Britt Baker, taking on one of, I think personally one of your best up-and-coming stars with a belt.
Absolutely. In wrestling right now. But also, they were in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Britt's hometown.
They were...
Well, not hometown, but home state.
Well, yeah, they were in her home state, but she graduated from, Penn State, and that's where they were?
Yes. She came out in full Penn State garb, which I have to give her props. My uncle went to Penn State. Uncle Jeep.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So I have a small affinity towards Penn State, so I can always, whenever I see that blue and white, I think the color combination looks phenomenal.
Clean. Very clean.
Good. But she came out in a head-to-toe, Penn State garb with the "We Are" on the back,
yeah,
like pandering to the home crowd. Absolutely loved it. It wasn't enough though, because goddamn it, you are not dethroning my girl, TBS champion
she
Chris
gave
Statlander.
Her everything. She gave her the lockjaw. She gave her the curb stomp. Like really,
it was a great match.
Gave her everything, and in very Orange Cassidy style, Chris Statlander was able to blow it off, get out of the lockjaw, and pin her for the 1, 2, 3. And the match was incredible.
We try to be very truthful on this podcast, and I will tell you that on our couch on Saturday night there was a line.
Oh yeah, we were very heavily
there
divided.
was a line, and it was.
I was in DMD country, okay.
And she was in the wrong country, because this is a Chris Statlander household. And
I love Chris. Chris is my girl too. Don't get me wrong.
DMD may be, a dentist and 2-time women's champion, but she's not more than a woman. So I'm sorry, the right woman won. Chris Statlander, still your TBS champion.
Chris is fantastic. She's
I am still your
continuing.
coffee and wrestling prediction champion.
Because there hasn't been a pay-per-view. And
there
also,
haven't done it.
I won't be here for the next one, so that kind of sucks too.
Are we going into that real
best.
quick? Okay, so
I'll do
real
my
quick
best,
on a side note before we continue on to Grand Slam, and then we're also going to be talking about the PWI 500. That just came out the other day, so that's going to be fun. Next week will be Jamie's final show.
Ever.
Until she gets back from a trip where she won't be around. So we are gearing up to, you will have just solo dolo Markaruni for a podcast.
It'll be the most exciting episode.
I might try to bring Jade Koth on here. Winley, if you're around, I might give you a Skype call. I don't know. I'm going to be a very bored boy for 10 days, so we'll be lucky if I put pants on. But coming up in Dynamite and Rampage this week, it's kind of a part 1, part 2. We've got AEW's always exciting Grand Slam.
Yeah, it is like a pay-per-view.
Are they doing this in a baseball field again? Because last time I remember them doing this in a baseball field.
Well, thus the Grand Slam would make sense. I don't remember a baseball.
I know. I know Royal Rumble's going to be in a baseball field. It's going to be in Tropicana Stadium.
Tropicana Field, y'all. I've seen so many Tampa Bay Rays games there. So the idea that Royal Rumble is going to be there, I don't know. We might have to go.
I don't know. I looked at the tickets. I looked at the average tickets. The internet told me the average tickets were anywhere from $100 to $800. I said, okay, I can understand that. I looked on the oh my God, the tickets hadn't dropped yet, but the website that I was looking at through the direct link through WWE, they were listing the only tickets, the cheapest ones they had were over almost $400.
No.
Right? $400?
You do realize where you're having this pay-per-view, right? No offense.
Tampa?
No offense.
Well,
I'm a Tampa fan.
Gainesville got is the second most expensive city to live in Florida.
Yeah, I can totally understand that.
And we're only an hour and a half away from them.
I mean, come on. We're an hour and a half away from Tampa, give or take. So, totally bad idea.
Right.
Make them cheap. Make it fill up.
So Grand Slam, AEW's Grand Slam. Let me pull up the...
Again, it's like a pay-per-view week. I'm like bursting at the seams, like on the edge of my seat. Like, cannot believe this Dynamite is... The card is just unreal.
Okay, well, before we get into Grand Slam...
Okay.
You said something about pay-per-views, how this is a pay-per-view quality.
Yes.
Let's touch on this subject real quick. There are rumors that AEW, and the rumors kind of came out last year, that AEW and TBS will be moving their pay-per-views from Bleacher Report to a streaming service such as Discovery Plus or even Max, which used to be Cinemax. It's now just Max.
Right, okay.
And then also extending their pay-per-view schedule from 4, 5 now that we have Wrestle Dream to more of a 12, much like WWE.
Okay.
So now we're kind of looking at almost mimicking the WWE Network / Peacock situation. On the flip side of that, with Endeavor purchasing UFC and WWE in a deal, making it TKO Holdings, they're looking at redoing the system of Peacock, saying that their pay-per-view system is highly undervalued, as in like the $5 we pay or $6, whatever it is anymore.
Every month I'm like, I can't believe this is $5.
And they've even said that the The platform is great. However, the platform is highly undervalued for what it is.
Sure.
So what's that going to mean for AEW? Does that mean we're going to see a $5, $10 service that's going to encompass our 12 pay-per-views? Or is it going to be more of it's going to be a $30 a month thing? Is it going to be a $50 a month thing? Because if WWE is admitting that $5 a month, $10 a month is far, far too undervalued,
sure,
then they're obviously going to hike the price up 2-3 times.
But at the same time, okay, what am I getting? The pay-per-views for free? Am I going to get a pay-per-view a month?
Yes.
So for $30, how can you complain?
Right.
If I'm going to get a free pay-per-view, a pay-per-view out of $30, technically I'd be getting $20 off every pay-per-view if you look at it from that way, because they're usually about $50. Right, so if they're happening, I'm going to watch it. But personally, unbiased opinion, I really don't want that. I'm okay with the platform system. I'm okay with paying the monthly. I want old AEW episodes. I want it to be ROH in the sense that I can watch old stuff.
Right, the Honor Club, you can go back and look at all the seasons. Yeah,
that's
that's
cool.
one thing AEW is lacking, is they don't have a system to where you can go back and watch
I'd love
episodes.
to go watch the first couple episodes of Dynamite. We've never watched them. Right. So to pay $10, $15 a month, okay, I'm into that because I'll be able to watch the pay-per-views through it. Mm-hmm. Even $30, okay, I'll be able to watch the pay-per-views from it, but I don't want WWE sense in AEW, because then I feel like Dynamite, Rampage, and Collision are just watered down, and all the interesting matches only happen at the pay-per-view.
Right.
That's the one thing I hate about the 12 pay-per-views with WWE.
Yeah, you get a lot of the fluff in the weekly episodes, and unfortunately that's what you get to watch for 4 straight weeks. And when you get 4 straight weeks of fluff leading up to a match that it's like, okay, I'm kind of excited for this, it takes away from the excitement sometimes. And you and I are very prone to that with WWE, to where we get bored with a storyline because they're trying to fluff out 2 months worth of content for a match that's going to cultivate at a pay-per-view.
Exactly. Well, they won't even lay their hands on each other because we have to wait for the pay-per-view in 2 weeks. And it's like, this is so boring.
The only counterpoint I have to that, though, is WWE is really good at doing that, but then at the same point, they make those pay-per-view matches to where you and I have admitted so many times watching these pay-per-views going, I don't know if I'm really excited about this match, to oh my God,
that was the most
brilliant match I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, usually it's I can't believe how good that was. It was better than I thought. But the weekly content is so boring.
And I think we've joked about it. It feels like WWE edges it. Like they just barely get you there, and then they're like,
just kidding. Just kidding.
And then after a month or two of it, they finally like, here you go.
It's the full release, and you're like, yes, this is amazing. Like, I really do understand the idea from a business perspective.
This is turning into a whole different podcast.
Yeah, this is not that podcast. But, like, really, I can understand it from a business perspective. But as a wrestling fan, like, I want Grand Slam on a Wednesday.
Right.
Like, I think you said something about AEW's blowing their load on these matches. Because
sometimes
is it because Ricky Starks is already having another match with Bryan Danielson?
Well, I said that this like as in this week, because it just feels like we're just tearing through. You had Chris Statlander took on Jade Cargill, and then she took on Britt Baker.
Yeah,
and you have and again, I'm not complaining about Orange Cassidy's run, but you had Orange Cassidy defending his belt, twice a week. You have Jon Moxley, doing these like almost hardcore matches, like these gimmick matches on a Wednesday night. And it just feels like sometimes AEW, because they don't have the platform of 12 pay-per-views per year to be able to put these on a much bigger stage, to give them the spotlight they need, to give them the, not to put stuff on up on a pedestal, but at the same time, there's sometimes a benefit to putting stuff up on a pedestal. Kind of that whole MJF moniker where I'm only going to wrestle when it makes me the most money. And you want to put those matches that are going to make you the most money. And I feel like AEW falls short sometimes with that they don't have a pedestal that's high enough. And then when they finally put something up on a pedestal high enough, everybody's like, yeah, but you've given me all these dream matches and these pay-per-view quality matches on your weekly programming. Why am I paying $60 to watch something that you would normally put on a weekly show?
But see, isn't that nice, though, that you have the opportunity that even if you don't want to pay the pay-per-view money, you're still getting a quality show during the week on just regular entertainment. For me, if I had my way, I'd rather watch all the stuff during the week on regular TV with the picture-in-picture than be able to only get really high quality matches once a month at the pay-per-view.
I think AEW needs to do what they're doing with their pay-per-views, but I think they need to not do 12.
Oh, it's just too much.
I think doing like anywhere from 6 to 8.
Oh, 6 to 8's fine. Absolutely.
Every month and a half, you have 6
Agreed.
weeks in between. It gives you plenty of time to have storyline in between. It gives you enough time that if you wanted to, when you have pay-per-view A and you have your go-home show after that pay-per-view A, you have 6 weeks to build up a storyline to get to pay-per-view B.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
That's a good blend in between the two. I get it from a business perspective. They want more pay-per-view buys. Like, I totally understand.
Of course, it makes more money.
But yeah, I think the streaming platform is a great idea, honestly, on both ends. Especially, I don't mean to be rude, the way we have to watch it is through Bleacher Report, the pay-per-views, and we've had many issues.
I don't remember
with
which
Bleacher
paper. I think it was Forbidden Door. We had so many issues purchasing Forbidden Door. I ended up buying it twice because I logged into my account and it said I didn't purchase it, and we were getting down to like minutes before it was going to start. I couldn't get a hold. It was the chat lines were completely clogged up, and I ended up buying it again, thinking, okay, it'll show that I purchased it twice. I'll contact them, and I'll get my money back for the second purchase. Never shows up second. It just completely deleted my original purchase.
But sure worked in our bank account.
It sure worked. Yeah, $120 later.
Right.
But it just, we've had numerous streaming issues. We've had numerous, even the platform's hard to navigate. Like the website is just, it's so basic boo-boo. Like you click on it, and even if you click on, I think if you click on the account and then you go to my profile, it doesn't exist. You have to go to my account, and that's it's just weird. It's such for something that is carrying something that makes so much money and that is producing something of such a high quality. You think they would have a little bit more of a professional look, or it just looks like I made it in high school.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
So I guess that's the nice thing about them streamlining some type of service between the two platforms, is that essentially you shouldn't be having that.
Right.
That's the theory.
So Pro Wrestling Illustrated dropped their yearly PWI 500 top wrestlers of the industry. And lo and behold, we're looking at the cover right now. I downloaded the digital copy. I'm not stealing it. I always say, go out and support your shit. It's like
$3 or something.
It was like $3 or $4 for the digital copy. It has the top 3 who, it's the Shield.
Yeah.
And we're gonna go through the top 10 here, but it is Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, and Jon Moxley are the top 3 wrestlers in PWI's 500. That's awesome.
That's insane. Coming from two people that were literally watched from the conception of the Shield.
I remember when they came out.
I also remember that. Yeah,
because as a 16-year-old or however old I was when they debuted, like having 3 big, strong, meaty dudes coming out in like black paramilitary gear to this like out of the crowd was just like, oh boy, that hit on every single one of Mark's little like fantasy wrestler guys.
Yeah,
like,
because from the beginning perfect. They used that Shield where they did the Sierra Hotel,
Indigo, Echo, Delta,
Shield.
It's so good. It was so good, and they were employed by CM Punk, which was another thing that was
very
I didn't like CM Punk back then. So when he brought them out, I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to like these guys. So we're going to go through the top 10. We're not going to go through all 500. We're going to try and turn that into a bonus episode maybe later this week.
Bonus pot.
Now, I've looked through the top 10, and I've kind of skimmed the top 100 or so, but I haven't gone too much further than that. Jamie has not seen any of it, although I know
I've seen the cover.
The cover says number 1, number 2, number 3. So we're going to go right into it. Of course, number 1 is going to be Seth Rollins. He has won the newly made WWE Championship. He has been one of the top performers of WWE. They break it all down. What's one nice thing about the digital copy is they've got a little play button on their picture. You can click on that and it goes to a good match of theirs. Top 5 moments they've got is he's advanced to, like I said, he won the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. He defeated Finn Balor to retain his championship at Money in the Bank in London. That's where John Cena came out and said something about WrestleMania. was when they were in London. Ended up beating Logan Paul. He won the U.S. Championship for the second time, beating Bobby Lashley at Monday Night Raw, and he retained his World Heavyweight Championship against former NXT champion Braun Breaker at the NXT Gold Rush special.
And fanfare and
oh my God, he's
talk of the town. It makes sense for Seth Rollins. He's consistently a great performer. He definitely puts asses into seats.
Oh yeah, and especially now, he's probably more over now than he's ever been.
Yeah,
ever been. Whether it's the outfits he comes out with or just the song that people are singing.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's what Jericho would be at if he was as over in AEW right now as if he was in WWE. Up next in number 2, Roman Reigns, your tribal chief, was number 1 last year, has dropped down to number 2. Still
can't complain about that.
A very honorable position, and
for somebody who doesn't wrestle much.
And I read it. They said the only reason that he wasn't number 1, even though he's top dog in the entire industry, was because he just didn't wrestle that much.
Exactly on TV. I said. Yeah.
But again, a position well earned.
Of course. Again, talk of the town. You put Roman Reigns in there. You say he's going to be there on SmackDown next week. People are going to show up. I get it.
I forgot to mention Seth Rollins has also now tied for the most times being number 1 in PWI's top 500.
Oh, who did he tie with?
I don't know who he tied with, but he is he's been number 1 3 times.
Wow.
Roman Reigns, however, has only been number 1 twice, and that was once in 2016 and then once last year.
Still incredible. I can't complain about that.
I know, right?
And then the guy that's keeping AEW together is the glue, the mesh, and everything in between, along with Chris Jericho.
The gauze pads.
The razor blades, too. Jon Moxley. Incredible. He was number 12 last year.
Right.
And was able to come up to number 3. Again.
Number 1 in 2020.
Interesting. Should we be surprised? No. With everything AEW has been through controversy-wise, he is the one that always comes through. Lately, it's Bryan Danielson as well. Again, like I said, Chris Jericho. But Jon Moxley is definitely a pivotal person in AEW and all of wrestling, really.
And it's funny because they don't even list any of that on the accomplishments that he's done this year.
Wow.
Of him stepping up as a locker room leader.
Yeah, just
and filling in that
on
void that's been opened by other performers who didn't want to do their jobs right.
So just purely on his wrestling,
just
he was
purely
able to
on beating Kenny Omega, winning the AEW World Title from CM Punk.
That was incredible. We actually just went back and randomly watched that.
Right. Well, actually, that's the link. If you click on the play button here, it brings you to that match.
Yeah, and do yourself a favor if you do end up buying this. Click to the link and watch the match. It felt like it went by so much faster, in real life when we watched it.
Oh, yeah.
But when we watched it today, I was it was that long?
It was about 6 minutes long.
Yeah, I thought it was closer to 4 or 5. But
it was 4 or 5 of wrestling, but they sat there and kind of went eye to eye for about 2 minutes.
Fair. Up next, and I can completely understandably see why, is Gunther, who has had a legendary reign as the Intercontinental. Excuse me. Now, look, I'm messing up AEW's championship with WWE. The Intercontinental Championship, the longest reigning champion.
Just surpassing Honky Tonk Man last week.
Right.
For over 454 days. That's what. That was Honky Tonk's reign. He's just extended it, so we're up to probably 460.
He was number 91 last year.
I think he's the most improved on the top 10. He jumped so many, and well deserved. I love him. I love Imperium. He has brought a lot of honor back to that Intercontinental title. It has looked great on him. His run has been great. He
makes everybody he wrestles look better.
Yeah, and he's such he's such a good villain.
He's
such a good villain, and it's so nice because he can back those claims up of how good he is and how
hard his slaps are.
Yeah, and how he believes that everybody is a disgrace to the sport because they don't stack up to his standards. You know what I mean? They don't stack up to the standards of the Intercontinental Champion, and I think the right thing to do with him as soon as we drop this title is give him some time to cool off, get him into the world title picture.
I had completely forgotten about him entering number 1 in the Royal Rumble this year and finishing the last person.
Right. I mean,
that's incredible.
Phenomenal year. Absolutely phenomenal year. They have built him up to be one of their next biggest stars.
Yeah, and he hasn't been on the roster for that long.
It's only been a few years. I mean, he was in NXT UK for a while, and then he came to the main roster, ended up forming Imperium, and
it fit.
It's so good. The crowd so just loved it. I think the presentation of Imperium really got them over.
Oh, I agree.
And then the belt just put him above and beyond.
Up next, AAA performer.
I know, right? Up next at number 5, we have El Hijo del Vikingo.
Again, I mean, how can you argue with that?
Who has been showcased on AEW, GCW, MLW, every one of the Ws. He's wrestled great matches against Kenny Omega. I believe he's still the AAA champion. Just one, and young, super young. Like one of the best luchadors that we have in our presence in modern day wrestling.
I know. It's like, what does the future hold for wrestling if these people are the ones that are, able to keep everything going? You have Vikingo, who's super young. You have MJF. There's just so many people that are just going to carry on the next generation of wrestling. But what a high standard. He makes it look so easy.
Now, the only criticism I have about him is he just goes so quick and he goes with such dangerous moves. He is on that path of having a shorter career.
Sure.
Just because of how much abuse he puts his body through.
Right. The performance is number one to him.
He's very young, so his body is able to rebound from all of these things a lot quicker.
Look at Darby, too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but it's something that you won't be able to sustainably do for years. And years. I mean, look at Kenny Omega. He's already described of how much pain his body is in and how much therapy, how many injuries he's had to overcome even in the past
surgeries.
Year. So it takes a toll. So he is one of those individuals that right now he's absolutely killing it. But he really needs to start thinking about his longevity.
Body? Absolutely.
But number 5, not...
What a way to round it out.
Number 8 last year is number 42 the year before, and jumped up to there from number 300 in 2020.
Wow.
Amazing.
Speaking of young talent in MJF, it would only be fair that he's number 6.
Coming up from number 16 last year, your AEW World Champion, probably
your scumbag,
and probably one of the again another one of those talents. Just like how Vikingo in AAA is one of the biggest up and coming. I think Maxwell Jacob Friedman is right on that cusp of being the greatest that he's ever been. This whole storyline with him and Adam Cole,
even his
and
physique.
Now he's got it with Joe. I mean, everything is on point with him. His
wrestling
mic work,
moves,
his wrestling has been going good. He just did the promo with the Steiner math the other day, cut on Joe. That was originally cut on Joe back on TNA.
So he got cut again, and he's facing Joe this upcoming week. I mean, it's just entertainment. I mean, he was the main event for 81,000 people, like we talked about before. Like he opened it up at the pre-show and he ended it.
We praised how Jon Moxley being the top dog in AEW. He beat the top dog in AEW to get that AEW World Championship. I mean,
he's better than you. You know it.
I'm surprised he's not higher than Jon Moxley personally.
Yeah, honestly, I think he should be higher than Vikingo.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Storyline talent, main eventing something so big like that.
For sure.
But I'm sure they had to put this out a while ago. Ooh.
Number 7, Okada.
Legendary reign. I mean, look at this path to being number 7 that they have over here off to the side. He's consistently been in... went from being in 230 in 2010 up to number 7 this year.
He's been in the top 3 in the past 10 years 4 times. Number 2 in 2016, number 1 in 2017, 3 in 2018, and then 2 in 2022. He's dropped back down to 7th. But, I mean, he's consistently in the top 50 ever since 2012.
Yeah. And, again, as part of that, just not up and coming because he's already past
he's
that,
here.
But super young.
He's here.
Super young. What a talent. Made so many people look good in AEW.
Has won the G1 Climax 4 times.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I mean, the number 8, Orange Cassidy.
Wow.
I have
the reign of
I have a lot of reserves about him being at number 8, but I can't. I mean, I don't know.
Who can argue with that? The reign of WWE, the reign of 2023.
He is the tribal sloth.
He has no slogan. The tribal sloth.
I love him. I think he is from people just absolutely shitting on Orange Cassidy for the quote-unquote gimmick or whatever you want to call it.
They didn't get it. Either did, honestly, Jim Ross didn't get it either.
But now Jim Ross is singing the praises of Orange Cassidy. Like
it's beyond, miles beyond a gimmick.
I think that championship run really showed people what he's capable of, that he's not just a gimmick, that he's not just a pair of sunglasses with a thumbs up, you know what I mean? Yeah, he's not just an indie wrestler. He's a main eventer. He is somebody you would be proud to have the world title strap on.
Oh, yeah.
I said strap on. It's so good. I love his character. I love the idea that they have never strayed away from what Orange Cassidy was since he came in. Doesn't matter the criticism. Doesn't matter anything.
He didn't even take a break after losing. He took like a night off, and now he's back. And him and Hulk are gonna
eat. They're gonna eat Doritos and tag.
Yeah, like cool. Like let's do it. Like I love it. They continue to just not package him, but just introduce him in different ways, and he's just so entertaining.
You can't repackage that, man. There's nothing you could do to that.
No.
There's nothing right now you could do to Orange Cassidy to repackage him into another character.
Oh, no.
Like, I know that's not what you meant, but just on that tip,
exactly.
Like there's no way. Like, Orange Cassidy is forever Orange Cassidy.
Of
It's like The Rock. The Rock is forever The Rock. Number 9, we have Impact's Josh Alexander, and although we don't know a lot of Impact Wrestling recently, I know that Josh Alexander has been like looked as one of the Impact's top guys. I mean, it was unfortunate he had to step away from the world title due to injury. I believe he had to get some surgery taken care of. But that's just a show to his testament of how good he's been in Impact. If he's at number 9 and he had to drop the title and be away from it for a period of time.
Yeah.
He's just so good at what he does. Any match that I have seen him in, he is impressive. He is quick. He is strong. Impact is a great. They should be blessed to have him as their like lead guy.
Oh, absolutely. And again, another friend of Egon. So
that's right. They had a tag team championship gold between them. The Great North.
Yes,
the Great North was their tag team. Absolutely great. And the number 10, rounding off the top 10. I don't think you couldn't have the top 10 right now without Cody Rhodes.
Sure.
Cody Rhodes is went from being almost a mid-carder in AEW at the end there.
Agreed.
Not any fault of his own, to one of the top people in WWE. I mean, regardless of your feelings about him, regardless of how he has or has not finished his story, I don't feel like you can't disagree. You can't disagree with him being in the top 10 right now.
Oh, I really can't. No, absolutely not. It's elevated the program for sure.
He was number 7 in 2020, number 6 in 2022. Not really getting into that top 3 ranking quite yet, but I mean, it's nothing to laugh at. He's been in the top 100 for almost, since 2008, with the exception of 2016. I think there's so much more meat on Cody Rhodes that WWE has yet to bite off. I think we're still waiting for the big payoff.
Yeah, they're pacing it.
And I think once that happens, then we're going to see the era of Cody Rhodes. Mm-hmm. But well earned for number 10.
But now I finally get to talk about Grand Slam.
I know. We talked a lot about
the matches, at least. So far, we have Jon Moxley. Well, just like you said, it wouldn't be fair if Jon Moxley wasn't fighting.
Right.
Defending his AEW International title against Rey Fenix. We have Saraya, who's fighting Toni Storm for the Women's World title.
I'm very excited for this match. This one,
Me too.
Okay, now everybody knows that I am very critical over Toni Storm. I have not been a fan of her since she's come into AEW. Even prior to AEW, I'm just not a big fan. Like, it's me personally. I don't dig her. I hate her finisher. Didn't like it. I have fallen in love with this girl. I love this, like, this distant, dissonant, like 50s movie Marilyn Monroe star,
like black and white.
It was great because Renee did an interview. What has changed in you? And I'm sorry, I don't remember who did it. RJ City. What has changed in you now? And she goes, well, I haven't changed. I haven't changed a single bit. I'm exactly the same. Everything else is changed. I love it. I don't know what she's doing with this character, but it's so good. The acting, the mannerisms, how it's nonstop, chin up, tits out,
Yep.
I love it.
Watch for the shoe.
It's bought me. It's got me hook, line, and sinker.
It's really good. So obviously facing Saraya in this championship match, having them both be a part of the same tag team, it's going to be really, really good.
One thing on that I thought was weird on Wednesday when she came out. She came out to the Outcasts or the Outsiders.
Yeah, hopefully
music.
she'll have new music when she comes out.
But
on
when
Wednesday.
she came out at All In, she had her own music and her own video and everything. And I don't know what happened with that.
But obviously a production issue.
Yeah, right. We also have a singles match between Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara, so they can get their differences out of the way and become a tag team, I guess.
Best of luck, like
Not really sold on that.
No.
We also have the AEW World Title match, MJF versus Samoa Joe. It apparently also was supposed to be a title versus title match, I thought.
That is not that match. There is a title versus title match, though, and that might be, although not going to be the main event, our personal favorite match.
This is the one I'm most invested in.
You want to talk about storyline?
And coming back to what we were talking about earlier about
putting somebody over
as you go out of a company, doing business with somebody.
The ROH World title and the NJPW Strong Openweight title are both up for grabs in a title versus title match. Claudio Castagnoli versus Eddie Kingston. And let me remind you, in New York.
New York, the home.
Yonkers, right? He's from Yonkers.
The home of Eddie Kingston. Winner take all, NJPW Strong Openweight title and the ROH World title.
I've already said this to Mark. Eddie Kingston wins are
we riot. I don't know where we're rioting in our house. I mean, I guess our coffee table's getting flipped over, so we got to move the nachos.
It's Eddie. It's Eddie.
This is going to be.
This is the time.
Okay. This goes back to what I was talking about. I feel like this is a no-brainer for a pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. I feel like that this Claudio versus Eddie has got so much storyline behind it that it should have been on a pay-per-view, and I don't understand why we're putting it on a Wednesday night. Am I mad that we're putting it on a Wednesday night? No, I don't care when we get this match, but I just feel like unless this specific match ends up being just a build-up for a pay-per-view match, I feel like they dropped the ball a little bit here.
I don't know why, but I actually got really excited. I was like, on a Wednesday night?
I'm excited for it. Don't get me wrong.
On a Wednesday night, they didn't make us wait for it. So I don't know. Me personally, I really enjoyed it because it could have been at Wrestle Dream. Of course, you could have lengthened this out for a little bit longer.
You're only saying that because you're not going to be here for Wrestle Dream. I won't
be here for Wrestle Dream, so I am really looking forward to
You're only saying that because you won't be here for Wrestle Dream, you liar.
I really do think it's cool that you can get this high quality of matches like MJF versus Samoa Joe on like literally a Wednesday night. That's crazy to me. Like,
oh yeah, for sure. And there's a lot of history between MJF and Samoa Joe with him and
a lot of these people. Yeah,
it's going to be a real good week.
It's awesome, and I personally don't feel like it's blowing the load. I'm enjoying
blowing the load,
blowing the load on these matches. I'm really enjoying it.
So on AEW Rampage, we'll have the second half of Grand Slam. We are going to see a tag team match between Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Darby Allin and Sting. Sting is still going strong. I don't know how many more tables that man's going to go through before he calls it quits.
At least one more.
We also have an AEW World Trios title match between The Acclaimed and Billy Gunn and the Dark Order of Alex Reynolds, Evil Uno, and John Silver. John Silver ended up beating Anthony Bowens on Collision in order to get this opportunity.
Also, Ricky Starks pinned Bryan Danielson. Collision was nuts.
Collision was and then you had Charles Manson and John Goodman from Oh Brother Where Art Thou. They beat the Hardys in tag team action. So that's interesting. But we're also going to have an ROH World Six-Man Tag Team title match between the Mogul Embassy and the Elite of Hangman Page, Adam Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson. I don't know why I said that so strange.
Adam Matt Jackson?
Adam Matt Jackson.
Hangman Page, Adam Matt Jackson.
We're coming up on an hour here. My mouth is getting numb. Haven't had enough coffee.
Again, like, fantastic. These matches are just incredible. It's a Friday night.
Just a Friday night. Like, and then we have Collision, which we have, FTR and the Workhorsemen. Who are they?
Banger. Who are they? Jay White and Andrade?
For the AEW World Tag Team title match, Andrade and Jay White. And then Bryan Danielson versus Ricky Starks.
In a Texas death match.
Again, a random Saturday.
Like, why not? I'm leaving Sunday. Let's do this.
That's next Sunday.
Exactly.
Over on WWE, we've got Monday Night Raw. We've got announced Cody Rhodes versus Dominic Mysterio and Shinsuke Nakamura versus Ricochet, which has been a rivalry kind of brewing for a couple months now.
Not to be that guy, though, but I just saw it was a non-title match between Cody Rhodes and Dominic. You know what that's going to mean, right?
Somebody's going to interfere?
No, that means Dominic's going to lose.
Oh, yeah.
That's the only reason you
Dominic's
do something like that.
even if it wasn't even if it was a title match.
I'm just
Cody
saying,
Rhodes.
you only say it's a non-title match when the champion's going to lose.
And then on SmackDown, we have Io Sky for a women's title match against Asuka.
Again, that's a pay-per-view quality match.
A lot of people are very upset about that.
Because it's not on a pay-per-view?
Right.
I don't care. Can we just not all be happy that we're getting, all these fantastic matches? All these matches we've been talking about the last 2 minutes or so are happening next week.
Right.
This week coming up. For free. Come on, guys.
Not technically for free, but
you're not paying anything extra than what you normally would. It's
you got to deal with some commercials.
Televised programming. Let's all just be thankful, as I always say, that we're alive during this generation of wrestling.
I know.
This is great. So good. What else do we have? We also have the Street Profits taking on LWO.
The other
this
half
time
of LWO.
is Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar.
This is the first string. Last week was second string.
Yes. All right, friends, I want to thank you again so much for listening, but I think that's going to do it for us at Coffee and Wrestling this week. If you haven't already followed us on X or Twitter, like I like to call it, like normal people, we are at CAW Wrestling Pod. My personal Twitter account is at A Bacon Party, and you can follow Mark
at Gunk Dudley. Start your week right with a fresh episode of Coffee and Wrestling every Monday morning. Thank you so much for joining us in this episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Wider than they were before. Make sure the microphone's in front of you, because I didn't. It was down by my nipples. That's going to be good for the end of this fucking track.
Oh, it's recording? Good.
It's recording, yeah. We are live. Hot with hard nipples. And this is where I shut up.